Hello and welcome to Cotton Patch YouTube TV. I'm Melinda and I am here to share my passion for English paper piecing. For those of you who've missed the previous videos, English paper piecing is where you take a piece of paper, some fabric, wrap it around, and then hand sew it together. In the previous videos, we learned how to make, the first one was basting and making the basic X shape out of the honeycombs. And then the second video was how to attach all of them together, all with non-directional fabric. Today, we're going to be doing fussy cutting, or as I prefer to call it, focus cutting. There seems to be a movement in England where this paper piecing originated to call it focus cutting instead of fussy cutting. Fussy has a prissy connotation, where focus is more intentional. So I will probably use the two interchangeably, but what it is exactly the same thing, is focusing on a particular pattern that you want and putting it into your quilt, pillow, whatever that it is that you're designing. So previously I had mentioned that some of my favorite things about English paper piecing is its portability, the Zen-likeness of its stitching, and one I forgot to mention is that you will never see fabric in the same way. Today we're embarking on our first pattern, and you will see as the patterns get more complicated in these future videos that you will look at it very differently. Today we're going to be focus cutting dots by Tula Pink. So what tools we're going to need for that again? We're going to need our honeycombs. We're going to need our glue pen and glue sticks. Again, color of glue sticks does not matter. We're going to need, this is the first time you've used it, it is a plastic template, and I will show you how to prep the plastic template. And washi tapes. I love that because it could show off your personality. And then a total game changer is an air erase marker. And we'll get to that. So first up, we'll be prepping your template. One thing you'll notice when you buy your plastic template, there is a piece of brown paper around it. You peel that off, and then you'll have exactly this. So I had washi tape. This is my own personal tool. I had washi tape on this before and peeled it off. No sticky residue and good to go after years of use. So let's get started on prepping that piece. So after you've played around and you've gotten to a layout that you like, then you could sew them together for a bigger project. For me, the layout that I chose, and I'm still in progress of working on this, is a whole bunch of dots in different colors. And I am going to end up with a panel, like a block, that's about 15.5 by 12.5. And there's going to be a project attached to this that's pretty exciting, but in case you want to work towards that. If you need refreshers on how to attach the pieces, I would recommend going back to the second video that I did where I go through it step by step. But in the meantime, I'm excited to see what you guys are going to create and enjoy the process while you do it. All right, so here is your template for the honeycombs. I prefer the one that has a 3/8 inch margin on it for the seam allowance. And I mentioned in previous videos, because of the paper, you have a bit of an edge. So the 3/8 as opposed to a 1/4 inch gives you an extra wraparound for it. But also, as we get more complicated and start doing things like pattern matching, you're going to think this 3/8 inch because you're going to need to adjust a little bit here and there. So on your template, there is a rough side where you could actually read left to right what it says, and there's a smooth side. What I'm going to want you to do is we're going to do the washi tape on the rough side because we're going to need this smooth for future videos. All right, so I'm going to be ripping off some of my Hello Kitty washi tape, and I'm going to place it along the white line that creates the window. And I'm going to do the whole thing all at once, and then I'm going to trim it. But if you're using like super wide washi tape like this, you're only going to use about a third of it. So you could trim as you go, and then you could use the rest of it on another side. So there's no waste. But mine's thin enough that it'll just get trimmed, and I won't be reusing it. So I'm just lapping them over, making it easy on myself. No fancy, just trying to make it perfect. As long as my window is unobscured, I'm happy. And last one. Out of the way. So now I have my washi tape all around. I'm going to flip it over, and I have my handy dandy rotary cutter, and I'm going to just gently go around. Make sure to watch your fingers as you do this. I don't want anybody cutting themselves. And then you just wipe it away. And then you're left with a windowed template. So we're going to be using this to start focus cutting on the fabric. All right, so today we're using Tula dots. And as you can see, I've already started Swiss cheesing my fabric. It's what it's going to look like. We could use this for future things, but invariably you will get the Swiss cheesing effect. So what I'm going to do, and by the way, I do not wash or starch my fabric beforehand. I'm a full, let's just jump in and do this. So two terms I'm going to teach you is about a whole and partial motif. So if you're trying to get the whole circle, you're getting the whole motif. If you're just trying to take part of the circle, then it's a partial motif. So in this case, I'm going to find an anchor. Anchors are important to me because it'll help me with putting the papers in. So here I'm lining up along just the edges of those dots. And this one I'm doing so you can't really see it, but you're like at the edge on the other end of the dot. Then I'm going to take my handy dandy air erase marker, and I'm going to outline. Now, the beauty thing about an air erase marker, it'll stay here for a little bit, but then it'll go away on its own. So if you make a mistake and go, oh, I meant to do this instead of that, it'll go away on its own. You do not need to rinse it underneath water. So here I did that one. Then I'm going to tilt so I can maximize how much I get on this. And I'll line it up again. The whole motif, partial motif. And again, I outline it and have that. If you find that the fabric is kind of dark and you have trouble seeing the lines on it, I would recommend flipping it over. In this case, it's a very simple dot, so you could still do the lining up on it where it's a whole dot to the partial motif, and you could outline it there and then cut it out. So then I take my scissors and I'm going to cut just along the line. If you're not perfect, it's okay because you have your anchor. So when you line it up, you will know where the paper goes. This just gives you a basic idea. For those who are really brave, you could always cut around your template when it's there. But I have a preference for keeping my fingers uncut. I don't feel as confident doing that, but you do you. All right. So I cut one out. almost. All right. So now we have this. Let's take our paper and see what happens. So again, I wanted my whole dot and a partial motif. So I'm taking the paper and I'm going to go over and line up to where I'm just putting that whole circle in there. And if you could see the lineup, you are hitting just the outside of that dot. Now I'm going to go ahead and glue baste it. And as before, I start and I only do a half, but go out onto the fabric on the first side. And the rest of them, I do full sides. Choose one direction. I go in clockwise. And I do this so ultimately whatever shape I'm doing, all the seams will nest. And then finish off that last corner. And here you have one with a whole motif and a partial. So now you get to do the ultimate. You get to play with these. So I've already made a few. So let's start with the whole circles together, the whole motif. And this could be one way. Let's flip it and see what happens. Could flip. And now you've got kind of like a little flower in the center. But what would happen if I took these two away and I put in these two? A little bit more color blocking. But then I could also take those away and put in purple and a pink. So then it's a lot of different colors. What happens if I flip it here? Then you've got the dots in the center, but then as you build outward, you may get a flower in other places. Also, what's fun, let's see if I flip it so I have two of the same on each side. But then invert all of a sudden to where I have matching the whole dots with the matching colors. And suddenly you've got two circles as opposed to the X's. So these are all different things that you could play with to get the look that you desire. Enjoy your time playing with all these different shapes and colors, because this is where the magic starts to happen, is what patterns are you going to create out of it.